It's just in our blood. You know, my grandma was a harvester, and I grew up in a harvesting family, whether it's fish or game. So from the time I was a little girl, I was out in the woods with my mom and my grandparents and my uncles and aunts, and they've been just mentors to me. So I kind of earned my way by doing. And now I proudly will get as many nets set as I can. It's a lot of work. You know, it's not something you could just do. It takes a minute. Being a woman harvester of all seasons, I am proud of that. My Uncle Joe, he's passed on now, but he provided testimony in the 1999 Supreme Court case. So I have immense pride in him and all of the others who have fought so hard over the years for us to be able to exercise our treaty rights.
We didn't take this case because we thought, well, it's kind of flip of the coin here. We took this case because we believe this is a very strong case and that the band has these rights and they need to be recognized and dealt with.
The chairman in 1983 asked me to be Commissioner of Natural Resources for the Mille Lacs Band. My job was to establish the band's 1837 treaty rights and to raise the funds necessary to litigate the case. And at the end of 6 years, we had saved up $500,000, and we filed a lawsuit in August of 1990.
The practical effect is that band members have been getting arrested, cited for violating state law in harvesting various resources, and they end up going to state court.
So after nearly 20 years of preparation, the band is suing the state for violating treaty rights the band negotiated with the federal government back in 1837. In that treaty, the Chippewa Indians of Minnesota and Wisconsin ceded vast areas of land to the federal government. But the Indians reserved the right to hunt, fish, and gather on that ceded territory. The band and the federal government will argue that the 1837 agreement should prevail today.
I'm Patty Nyston, and this is a Minnesota 9 Tonight update. The troubled waters of Lake Mille Lacs reached to the steps of the state capitol today. Hundreds of sports enthusiasts protested a tentative treaty agreement concerning fishing rights on Mille Lacs and other Minnesota waters. State lawmakers will consider the plan this week. It represents a compromise between the state and the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. But these sportsmen don't want an agreement. They want the issue decided in court.
As soon as that settlement came out, then it was just like a zoo. Everything flew open and everybody was screaming. Sportsmen were just going crazy.
This represents over 300,000 sportsmen and women in this state, all fighting for the same thing, fairness. We just want to be fair about this whole thing.
They said, well, we only want it fair. And I used to tell them, I'd say, what you want is to decide what fair is. That's really what you want.
You're not worth my time. You're not worth my time.
They said they wanted to go to court. They wanted a judge to make a decision, and they would live by that. Well, they now have that.
This ruling, all 133 pages of it, basically upholds the rights won by the Mille Lacs Band in the 1837 treaty.
We were feeling pretty good, and we never dreamt that the Supreme Court would ever hear that case. Then word came down that the Supreme Court had decided to take that case. Our only thought was, why would they do that? There's no reason to do it. They must want to overturn it.
The nation's high court will this week hear Minnesota's Indian treaty case.
The question before the U.S. Supreme Court will be this: do the 160-year-old hunting and fishing treaties entered into with the Chippewa Indians stand today? It was just last year that the Mille Lacs Band and 7 other Chippewa bands reasserted their hunting and fishing rights after at least 7 years of legal challenges to those rights. The Chippewa don't want state fish and game laws to apply to their harvests, saying 1837 treaties afforded them special privileges. Now, lower courts upheld the Chippewa treaties. The state of Minnesota appealed to the High Court, and justices will review this case this Wednesday.
All right, thanks a lot, Fred. And should the Supreme Court rule against the Chippewa, more than 100 Indian treaties across the country should also be in jeopardy.
On John Nichols' testimony, he was asked, to translate how back then, how may they have translated natural resources. And the word that he used was Wenji-Bimaadiziyaang, literally translates to from where we get life.
I was actually in Marge's office. Marge was the chief executive at the time. And the receptionist called into Marge's office and said, the Supreme Court is on the line. They said we won 5-4. And she turned around and said, announce it.
After an examination of the historical record, we conclude the Chippewa retain the rights guaranteed to them under the 1837 treaty. Those are the words of Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. She wrote the opinion in today's Supreme Court ruling that permits members of 8 Chippewa bands to harvest fish and game under their own regulations in territories they gave to the U.S. government in 1837.
What is it then which caused us to win? I say to you that it was the will of the band.
To have the Supreme Court of the United States say, these are your valid rights, that says, yes, you are on the right. That is the path. That was the correct information you received. To really have that acknowledged and to know that their parents and their grandparents were right.
We harvest for our community. We have quite a bit of tribal harvesters here, and I bet if you go talk to each one of them, they most likely will say, I caught all this fish, I'm gonna go and give it away, make sure my family's fed, my friends, elders, and other people in the community. I run into more people in the last couple of years, so excited because they got their first net and they netted or speared for the first time.
I still worry, are we doing enough? Are we doing enough to keep those traditions alive, those harvesting methods alive? We are responsible to teach our future generations our traditions and our ways and how we got here, and the importance and the value of keeping those alive.